Welcome, everyone. Delighted to introduce our guest for this week in just a moment. What we'll cover today are AI workflows accelerating go-to-market strategies. We're coming at you with live demos, some best practices, and then backed by years of top-of-the-range experience. Delighted to be joined by Chang Chen. So, Chang, if you want to go to the next slide, I'll give folks an overview of our agenda. So we'll learn a bit more about Chang, who's coming fresh from her amazing Reforge course last week. Then the topics we'll dive into are programmatic SEO, how to do that at scale, how to do it intelligently, backed by your data. Next one then is around content creation. So a little bit more editorial focused. We'll dive into some of the best practices and demos we've come up with so far across our teams. And the third one then is content localization, something that we've both run into during our careers of translating web pages, trying to create specific content for different locales. We have a new framework to show you today that I'm really excited about. And then throughout it, we're going to show some best practices around prompting, which we were just talking about, and workflow assembly. And then we'll leave time for Q&A at the end. But if anyone has questions as we go through the slides, everyone should have access to the chat feature. Drop your questions in there and we'll bring them up in real time as well. So yeah, Chang, would love you to click to the next slide and then, yeah, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, I have been in growth and marketing for the last 17 years and recently become full-time advising and I've been focusing on AI startups. In the last years that I've been having 3x successful exit and helping several companies, including Alter, Agent, and Bardeen, to scale 10x in month instead of years. And recently I've been working with several other companies as well. And first I want to talk about the evolution of the growth engine that we have been observing. If you still remember the .com days, where the Yahoo.com they will have very static experience, and most of them are built with instinct, built with the user understanding, and they will present all the options for users to choose, and the volume of content usually comes with a really high production cost. And if you remember the TV ads days, that most of the marketing material is went to many broadcast, and there's not much personalization that we can create. Fast forward that in the last decade or so, that there's a growth, and that there's more, we start to have access to more and more data. So we then start to be able to personalize user experience based on the data, based on our marketer and the growth people define the user segments. And with the presentation, we also started to accelerate the content production and be able to reduce the content production cost. But we're still able, but the most personalization we're able to do is still just one-to-one segment. And most of them is predefined, is rule-based with some ML. I don't remember, and so at least for some of the email flow that we've been building, that you can see some more tree, and it's more tree shaped that with the data triggers, and it's most of it is predefined. But now that we actually start to see more AI-powered user experience, especially with the generative and with the generated and generated and agentic AI, that they're really able to lower the content production cost. We're able to create content at scale, and we do see explosion of content created online, to see personalized content created. Even with agentic AI, we start to see companies to deploy one-to-one personalization that really be able to use all the traditional B2B type of high touch service, and they'll apply that to individual consumers and really be able to provide that VIP experience to every single one of your consumers. Now we also started to see experiments of AI agents that based on understanding of the user to proactively engage consumers in the exact way that they want to be.
For that one, Chang, I might ask, how do you define the difference between generative and agentic? is one more like your companion and co-pilot, or do you view that interaction between the like producer of the content in the system, or more so like the consumer of the content?
The generative right now we are still mostly using to create content,
Hmm,
and it actually needs a marketer or growth people to trigger. So it's a human triggered, and then AI will be able to act as a team member to take actions based on the order of the human. Well, for agentic AI, we first started to realize that it's mostly the proactive part, that it will start to understand the preference of the consumers, and understand the brand, and understand the products, and we'll start to proactively thinking when's the best time. Um, so I feel like the generative AI is more mature, where I do
hmm.
see more applications, while agentic AI, I do see there's more and more applications right now, but it's still more experimental.
Amazing. Love it.
Good question. So far, the AI is here for delegation, especially for the generative AI. It's not here to replace our team members yet. AI right now is really good at writing, video creation and editing. It can help us to summarize information and to digest our brand information that created by the human. It's also pretty good for automation. So agentic AI stuff that it's start to become more usable, but right now that we are still closely monitoring, start to see some success as well. With that, we can also think about how we can really be able to leverage AI and really be able to delegate some of the tasks to AI to start to have more AI-powered growth in the marketing. Usually, I start with time-consuming tasks, especially when the task is very repetitive, and the task is related to the things that AI can do, especially for writing related, especially for content creation related. I will also take a look at my day-to-day to think about what's that energy draining task. If something that I feel like that I feel drain energy after doing it, then I will also think about if AI can help to take it over. And the additional tasks that I usually look at is the repetitive process before AI is really good with automation and the process of bottlenecks, as well as the high impact areas and independent operation. And I think especially for independent operation, so far AI is most useful when it's related to in independent operation, meaning there's no collaboration with the team members, and it can take an order and be able to execute on its own. But if you need back and forth communication alignment with your team members, then the AI is usually not a good choice. And we've been experimenting a lot with all the different directions and with all the different areas of applications for AI. So far that we have been seeing AI has pretty good success with localization, and also start to leverage more with AI native channels. SEO is definitely one of the first and the most successful area for AI. We also started experiment the influencer campaign. AI has been able to automate some of the process. Conversion is more agentic AI. We started to apply the one-on-one VIP service to our free users, and be able to nudge more of the free users to paid. Content repurposing is definitely one, and it's definitely one of the bigger areas with the AI workflows, as well as the AI native new products. Social media manager, we definitely see a lot of success. Paid ads, we do start to see more application that can actually turn a product with just a URL directly to a paid ads videos, and turn one product landing page to 10 videos. It started to reducing the paid ads video production cost, market research, code outreach, and the churn reduction. We also start to see application not only for generative AI but as well for the and for the agentic AI as well.
I like the way you frame that as well because when I first started experimenting with all these tools, kind of when they came out at the end of 2022, like my initial approach was, oh, I want to like spin up brand new like channels or brand new projects. And you can kind of get disheartened because there's obviously a big lift in going from like 0 to 1 on each of those. So I think I like fully agree here with a lot of the starting points of like pick something that you're doing today and be it like energy draining tasks or something that can be handed off to like automation or AI that it can do it as good or potentially even better. That's like a great starting point just to sprinkle in some of this automation into your workflow. And then as you have on the below diagram, like there's many different avenues, even just within growth and marketing, where you can get started today.
Yeah, so far we haven't seen AI be able to completely change some of the workflow yet. It's mostly that when we find a working workflow and we're able to delegate it to AI and to help AI and then to ask AI to help us to scale 10x faster. Well, and for the new AI native channels that we started to see more and more traffic comes in. The first one is AI answer engines. We do start to see traffic coming from Perplexity, ChatGPT as well, ChatGPT Store. U.com, we also start to see some traffic from it. And those are the optimization for these new answer engines is similar to SEO, but they all have a different they all have different tactics. So that we can optimize the content to rank for the this AI answer engines. We also start to see new SEO territory like Google and Bing. They roll out the AI overview. In order to rank those, we also need to optimize the content. And it's more summary and the AI overview currently we're starting to see that it started to replace some of our shallower content, meaning that different listicle type of articles. So I do think the SEO content creation direction in the future will likely to change. It will prefer to more in-depth overview type of article with a lot of research. Then the more shallower content we're likely going to replace with AI overview in the future. A third AI native channel that we start to see success is AI companions. And the AI companion right now that that started to not only become entertainment, but also have to also have practical applications. So, for example, I have a few AI companions that help me to plan my trip and to help me to select different gifts. It's trained with a lot of my preference and to really be able to understand my need. So I actually start to take more and more suggestions from them. So this is likely going to be a new channel. We haven't seen a lot of traffic. We haven't seen a significant traffic yet, but I will monitor the channel very closely. And for the AI for SEO, it's one of the first area that I started to experiment several years ago. So far that we have been seeing a lot of success. For one of the company, we're able to drop to over 3 million traffic in just 6 months, and for older traffic with the several hundred thousands impressions already, that we are able to 2x the traffic in just 7 months as well. And this is one of the specific example, because right now that many of the AI for SEO workflows is mostly targeting the top of the funnel, meaning that it can drive a lot of traffic, but the conversion is a little bit lower. But this one that we specifically targeting only the bottom of funnel with the highly targeted ICP, and we're able to drive 4 times of the traffic within 6 months. And how we do it, we will be able to streamline the content creation and the repurposing, and we're able to automate the repetitive tasks with AI workflows. And the most importantly, that when we automate with AI, it doesn't mean that we just create the same kind of content as everyone else with AI. We will really be able to add unique content with our human expertise and train the AI with our brand and tone. So it remains really high quality as the human created the content. And the in result that we not only increase the traffic, but we're also able to boost our conversion rate.
I think we covered in a couple of slides, but yeah, just as you mentioned there, Chang, like what matters nowadays, has always mattered, is like driving like your ICP visitors, like that middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. And just like on your prior slide, when it comes to channels and targeting, you do see when everyone goes to Google and you're searching up stuff, they're highlighting their own like AI answer nowadays, and obviously a lot of searches have moved to like LLMs directly. So I think as people think about like their content strategy, you do want to think about where your users are searching when they're like problem aware and then like solution aware as well, which is I think what you focused on, and you've some other results to share.
Yeah. This is a slide for results that we have been seeing increase not only for traffic, but also able to reduce the production cost at the same time. The challenge face that right now, because so the challenge face that previously that we used to have a pretty big team of writers, of editors, so that we can scale the content creation and maintain a really high quality, and hiring and managing big teams of writers and editors has always been a pain, and it's not affordable for every company, especially for early stage startups. It's usually pretty hard to kickstart the content creation process. So that's why that most of the time previously that for early startup, SEO is usually not a prioritized channel. Um, and another challenge that we usually face is a repetitive menu workflows, and we used to have Airtable bands that will help us to managing a 17 step of workflow that to help us to start with a brief and then to have multiple checkpoints to ensure that we have high quality content. But that has been a pain to manage because it's really manual, and we will always have to remind ourselves that we need to maintain each of the checkpoint. Balancing speed and quality is also something that we have been experimenting, trade-off between generating content quickly and ensure that it meets high quality standard. It's always something that we have been experimenting. And at least before the AI step, before the AI, we used to start experimenting the content creation workflow from 7 steps all the way to 13 steps, and we have been already iterating in terms of our workflows, and inconsistent SEO performance. I think right now the performance is mostly based on the keyword research as well as outdated content that we need to keep updating. And this is something that we will continue to experiment and see. And AI for SEO, the current process that we are having is really be able to leverage human in the loop, plus the AI automation powers and the generative AI creation power, and streamline and accelerate the current process creation. We can see that the whole process is actually very similar to what we had before. And the biggest difference is that the AI is now replacing some of our human writing and the human researching steps. Right now that we always started with the keyword. And instead of us manually search the Google and to read through each one of the top search results, we currently have AI to help us to scrape the top search results and summarize them, so that we can accelerate the research and the learning. And after that, we'll have the editor and the writer to review the top search result summarization in order to create in order to add bullet points and to add learnings for AI to create an article brief. And after AI create the article brief, the human will review again to make sure that it's on brand, to make sure that it's not missing anything. So also to make sure that the AI is not hallucinating too much. And then after that, then we will have the article review to combine with several of our unique content data source and to combine with our brand positioning and messaging, and then send AI to actually to draft the content. But by the end, we still have human editor to thoroughly read through everything and to improve and edit. One workflow example we have is that we have so probably for more for background, we have this we have this CAD related site. It's more a pet project. And when we first started using it, we had a few writers to help us write the content. And they did a lot of research, but previously that the content was only in 3 sections. And when we send the content for user to review, and they will always come with the feedback that the content is pretty thin. So we started to leverage AI to think about how we can update and enrich the content at scale. So we started with one workflow that be able to learn our unique information and be able to search Google and to find additional information that we can leverage. And we were able to use the grid function to apply the same workflow and to scale it to several pages at once. And we use Webflow to upload the enriched information and can update all the pages at once. Let me show you how does it work. So this is a site that we have. It's talking about cat, and this is one of the landing pages. So we can see we have descriptions and detailed information for each of the cat, and a cute knowledge to have, as well as several fun facts. I think it's down there. So the end page is enriched with tons of detailed information and very unique information. How we did it is that the first that we have all the unique information for the brand and the product, which is the website's positioning, our own research. We have a customer reviews for real pet owners, and we also have a unique generated user generated content from our forum. And then we have public research that we get some of the factual information from, as well as the brand kit. So the brand kit come with some of our positioning, some of the personas of writing, and the writing example. What we have workflow here is I can probably show overview first. So we have several steps. The first one is to be able to enter a cat type. And after that, we have several steps to learn our brand positioning term, our unique reformation, as well as a public search, a public research, and information from Google research. And we will store everything into LLM and be able to help to generate the content. So for this one, it's mostly to understand our brand and tone and learn from that brand kit in some of our unique brand positioning and messaging documents. This is more to search through our research and content information. We don't really want to waste the credits and to go through everything. So this is search direct specifically for the cat type for this page. Public research will coming from several forums and different public website, and finally a Google search to help us to gather additional information that we can use. And the prompt for generating the content, that we want to make sure that everything created is on brand. So we feed in all the brand information, and also to learn the factual details that we gather from the previous steps, and to enhance with the writing sample body from the brand kit. And then we will ask the AI writer to learn everything and to create different sections of a content on that page. The good thing is that it will be able to return a direct JSON file, so it's pretty easy to scale and automate from there. With this workflow, then we will add it to the grid. With the grid, you can see that for each row, it will represent one page, and then we have different cat type. And you can either click here to run all 5 at the same time, or you can click one by one. So it will be able to create all the different fields at once.
I think one thing I dropped in the chat there, Chang, like I love your like cat use case. It's super cool. One thing we've seen as well, and we're spinning up ourselves internally that mimics your exact same setup is around if you go back to your workflow just for 1 second, um like enriching and pulling in like your brand context, your brand detail, even some stuff from like public sources or like internal sources. Like that's key to your workflow. And we've actually published some content recently about like how to achieve kind of long-term gains when it comes to SEO. And it is down to like expressing your tone of voice, expressing your style, and most importantly, like your unique data in these workflows. So one big use case we've seen, and I know some of the companies you've worked with, we're helping them out as well, is around like one-to-one ABM personalization. So rather than the trigger being something you put in like a cat type here, it's a company who's landed on your website. You want to find a relevant case study, you want to find a couple relevant pieces of context and content, and then you want to like find some like objection handling message. So you can stitch those together in the exact same way you have here, and then kind of aggregate them again in your LLM step with here's all the context, here's the output structure I want, and then just like you have in the grid, set it up for human review. And then you can tag it on to outbound. So very quickly, just like here, you're going from source information to a page created, whether it be about cats or it be for ABM or like programmatic SEO. It's the same principles, just as you have here, applied to each of those.
Yep, that can be a really cool use case.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think the data is ready. Well, we can see that with one click, we're able to create the content for that page. And we should be able to just export everything to a CSV, and it goes to my Webflow and be able to import. Then we can update all this or update and enrich the content for all 5 pages at once. Cool. Um, the most important thing to really leverage AI for the content creation is to be able to add our unique content sources. So far that we've been seeing success with the author and actors input. That's why we have several human review steps and be able to add the product messaging and the positioning. And the market research can also be a really good resource to help us to differentiate our product from the other competitors. User generated content from your forum, from your user interviews is and most of the time from social media. They can also be unique content sources that we can add to enrich our product, to enrich our content. And subject matter experts insights, competitor analysis, as well as audience insights. So those are the ways that we should be able to leverage human, to leverage a user um, to add more unique content. Usually we start with very small tests and to make sure the content is thoroughly reviewed by our editors and make sure it's really high quality before we scale. And also we will ground the content in proprietary data insights and build a repeatable process with the human oversight. And iterate from there. So far, so the CAD process that we just showed, that we actually already started to iterate it several times. Most important learning is that if we started to do individual research for each of the categories, that we do start to see a higher quality instead of doing one research and applied to several sections of content. And moving forward, and where we're going, we do so as the AI overview start to roll out, and as the AI answer engine start to gain popular, as it start to gain popularity, that we do see the total SEO market share will decrease. And we do see the SEO will start to shift to more to we'll switch to more comprehensive and in-depth articles, because the shallow, generic, and simple content will gradually be replaced by answer engines as well, be replaced by AI overview. And we will also start to see more focus in terms of both content to be able to create product specific, and to answer users' queries and be able to convert users, and be able to target ICB for the company. And for AI for content repurpose and social, so far that we're seeing with AI that we're able to 10 times faster our manual repurposing and increase views across different platforms by 5 times and save 80% of time in content creation. We also started to see an explosion of a number of new tools, and each one of them specialized in each combination of a content type and style. So for example, that we see AI tools that can help us to convert long form videos into short form video, short social videos, and that can create images from the long form video as well as the blog articles, social posts, and newsletters. We also start to see very specific tool just for podcast repurposing to all the different type of video, to all the different type of content, as well as the blog posts. And there are several tools to turn blog posts to Twitter blog posts to linking posts. And the same with social posts. We see several very specific tools to convert Twitter threads into linking posts, or convert linking posts to Instagram posts as well. But what's really working so far that on the high level, we do see that if you start with a information rich content like a long form video and use AI to slice and dice and to convert them into shorter form, to convert into information to convert less information density content, then usually AI can do a really good job. But if we start with more lower information content like an image, and then ask AI to enrich and ask the AI to expand to longer form to more information, then we generally do see the content quality will be lower. And also we start to see many really fancy AI features and the tools for different social media managing purposes. One of successful use cases we have been seeing so far is a content repurposing for video, that we were able to transfer long videos into short clips for social media channels. As for example, that we're able to this is one of the example that we're able to turn a horizontal video with several speakers, that we are able to successfully use AI to identify each one of the speaker. They can either arrange it into stack, or they can highlight on the speakers when each of the speaker is speaking, so it can rotate between different speakers. We also start to see audio be able to help us to enrich some of the audio information and turn them into social media ready videos that can create audiograms, captions, and can sometimes leverage AI avatars for clips from podcast or recording. Right now, that when we experimenting audio, especially podcast workflows, that we do see captions on static image and background getting 20 to 30% more views on average, comparing to the traditional audiograms. And a workflow example.
Yeah, I can take this one over. So maybe I'll share my screen, Chang. If I can grab it, there we go. Cool. All right, can everyone see my screen? I think we're good. Yeah, so I'm going to bring us through two workflow examples, both how I'm using AirOps internally for just kind of like what you were saying around like turning a dense piece of content, like a podcast or a webinar, into different other content formats. And then what I'll also show is one I've shared with a lot of folks who are on this call, but a hot take to a social post generator. So starting with the first of those, we've done, I think, like 4 or 5 webinars over the last few months. I just ran the last two as I set this up in the last week. But like a webinar is great. You generate amazing content from it. You get like insights from like experts like Chang. And then it's really difficult to find the time afterwards to turn that into the different sort of content that you want. So this example here, I go from like a webinar and like more specifically the transcript to a blog post that gets generated from it. And one other little thing I added in this week to make my own life a bit easier. But yeah, basically what I take in, and I'll show the workflow in a second, is company name, about the company. So just like background about AirOps, the raw transcript. So from our one with Sean a few weeks ago, I just drop in an hour worth of conversation, which is great. And then I start to feed it other context, like how we spoke about it in the build up. So what was the title? What do we put on the Luma page? And then a few different webinars we've done either have like one host or we co-host with someone else. So I add in that context and that'll pull in other information from that company's website. And then finally, I have a rough output structure. And then for each different conversation and event we run, we'll have a different call to action. So essentially, like Chang showed, I can run my example in the grid. And then what I'm left with is an example like blog post that I can go and tweak, then add more information to, but it goes through the overall structure I would have requested, which was overview, like a TLDR. Then we start to summarize like challenges faced by the person we spoke to. What are the high level results? And then we'll go deep dive into like their workflow and primarily like their best practices. So at this point, what I've also done, and up to this point manually, is take the webinar, like clip it up myself, upload it to one of our like Vimeo or YouTube accounts, and then link that in here. There's a lot of work in going through each of the videos to extract the core insights. So I actually spun up another, I call it like the top moments element, but it goes through and it like gives me the timestamps of what it thinks for the audience are the most impactful or like insightful elements of the webinar or the podcast I've given it. So here it like skips out 4 minutes. In other cases, it'll usually be between like 30 to 90 seconds. So I'm going to demo that workflow and I see Liam, you have your hand raised. Can I bring you into conversation? Yeah, Liam, do you have a question? Um, I can't see it.
You are muted.
Oh, if you have a question, I'll let you drop it in the chat and I can answer as I go through. But yeah, here I have my workflow. And very similar to Chang's, it takes in a bunch of like that starting context. So like I could copy and paste this and give it to anyone on the call, but you feed it with your company information, what the transcript was, and some of the other background context, information on like the co-hosts, and then general instructions. So as I go through and create more and more of these like webinar to blog post examples, I'll have human edited the final result that goes live. I want to feed that back into the model. So I feed it some like best in class examples. And then, yeah, that's as well down the bottom. So here is where I capture each of the ones we've created, a knowledge base read. I have this trained on our style, our tone, and then I also pull in some examples. Then for the blog post generation, you'll see here how I've set it up is within the system prompt, I give it a little bit more context of what I want this like agent to be thinking of. So like what mindset does it need to be in? So in this case, it should be a content marketer for our company. I give it background context, and then I basically give it a little bit of insight as to what I wanted to create. Then I use what we call user assistant pairs to almost set it up with a conversation it would have had previously that we're really happy with. And what this does is it kind of sets the bar for the output that you're looking for. So I've given it one that I've already created, but this is our webinar with Sean. And then within the assistant, so its response, I'm kind of mimicking it. I'm giving it my like published version that I'm really happy with. And now I say, great. Now you know like what you should do. You know a really good example. Now I feed it in my net new webinar or podcast recording with all of the context here. So everything from like who we've done the event with, who are the exact people, what's their background. I give it again like the structure it should follow, and then more the specifics of this event. So like the call to action, the Luma page, which is just description on the event, and then the actual transcript. And then it'll go and generate that blog post for me. And then similarly, for that top moments of like the timestamp extraction, very similar outline. I haven't given it an exact example yet, but again, it should output like a timestamp, like X to Y, a summary, and then like the rationale. So as I go through it, maybe I pick 8 out of the 10 it's given me, but it just drastically reduces down the time that I need to commit to what is an automatable process. So yeah, that's how we're using like AirOps for some content repurposing internally. And the second one I'm going to show is around, yeah, hot takes to social posts. So I know we're running close on time, so I'll gonna blaze through this. But like Chang's example, I use the grid once I have the automation down to help scale my workflow. So here I'm going from what's my topic, what's my hook, to out the far side, a full length post, which is quite wordy, something punchier, or then core talking points. So we're gonna write a piece of content pretty soon around AI detectors don't exist. So actually, if you were to put like the US Constitution into one of them, it often comes back of like 80, 90% plus AI generated, which technically could not have been the case. So that's kind of my initial hook. And then I've set up my grid here so I can put in like Twitter or LinkedIn. My prompt types are as follows. So if I click into here, we have like your data, so our knowledge base that's set up with prompt types, which are like the industry insight revelation, the mentorship magic. They're kind of just like outlines of formats we want a specific post to follow. And then I also have, and all of these things are used to guide the models in the right tone direction, format direction that you want. I also have it trained on a bunch of kind of like leading marketing and growth personas on LinkedIn. So I really like Kieran Flanagan, who's at like HubSpot, and Naval Ravikant. So out of all of that, we set our like channel, our prompt type, and our writing style, and then we run it. So what do we actually run? This is our pretty simple workflow. So we take in the elements we've just described. We then fetch the designated writing style from our knowledge base. So maybe instead of me pulling in Kieran Flanagan, you have your own voice. Your CEO has their own voice. Or maybe if you write on behalf of companies, you want to be able to select what company you're writing on behalf of. So that's what you can do here. You can pull it in based on your input, and in the template as well. Maybe you want something that's very staccato and short, or something that's very long form. Again, up to you to select that and use the knowledge base. Then I've kind of iterated to this over time, which is develop a long version of the post, which is maybe more thought out. And I describe it like as follows. You'll see I'm using the channel, I'm using the topic, and then I'm telling it about the format and the style to use. And then that will generate the longer form version. Oftentimes I find that it's too long. So here you'll see I start to limit it to like 100 words max. And then I ask it to like redo it in the same style, but just be like punchier because we want someone to actually engage with the LinkedIn post. And then last but not least, like when we record videos or we just want to basically take that idea and flesh it out further, I like to output the core talking points. So we'll see here for this example, for AI detectors don't exist. it gives a pretty punchy post here around like kind of questioning what exists, like against GPT-4, it's dismal. It just gives you like a couple of the core points. And again, maybe you don't want to copy and paste this directly and set it live on your LinkedIn, but with a couple of word changes an uplift, it's ready to go. And then if I wanted to record a video to go along with that post, I can easily open up this and use these core talking points as my prompts of what I might cover in 30 to 60 seconds. So that kind of end to end gives us from a top of mind idea or hook, we get the posts out the far side. And I've seen some of our customers take this, I was going to say one step further, but 10 steps further, where they go from a recording or they go from like a hook to a very thoroughly researched idea. And then they use AirOps to convert it in from text to speech and also videos upcoming. And they'll publish it on all podcast networks. So then you can go from a hook or a topic to a published podcast, all with maybe 30 seconds, 90 seconds of recording, which is really impressive. So yeah, if people have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And for anyone looking to get their hands on this, hit me up afterwards and I'm more than happy to send it on. All right, getting through our last couple slides. Yeah, trends and tactics. So where are we going? Just like Chang went through of that matrix of like your source piece of content to the destination. Like over time, we'll see that full table turn green where you can go from any high quality input to any sort of output that you're looking for. And then just as always, algorithms, be they a social platform or Google, they're going to continue rewarding insightful, high quality platform native content. So just like you'll have seen people abused GPT and Claude to spin up very generic and undifferentiated blogs. Like no one values that from an algorithm to a human. So over time, as we think about repurposing, you don't want to lose the taste or the quality that a human or a brand can enrich it with. So yeah, I think start small, test what you have already. Maybe you have an existing process, or like Chang said, something that is time consuming or energy draining. Start small, like automate one process and then scale the winners. And then yeah, be mindful of your tooling selection. So for something like text to video, you're going to want to use a HeyGen. Don't reinvent the wheel. And then similarly for like speech to text or text to speech, use a tool that's purpose built for that. And then as you want to aggregate all of these elements and building blocks together, find a tool like AirOps that allows you to like make use of latest model developments, but actually stitch together these building blocks that you spend time developing. Okay, AI for localization, kind of changing pace, but wanted to push this in because we'll have a template for this pretty soon. And talking to Chang, something that her teams have struggled with, leading website and marketing teams for the last few years on my side, I've also struggled. But someone comes to you, like one of your co-founders or your manager, saying, "Hey, we need to launch in a new country, or we need to localize our website, or we need to localize to a new area." Going back maybe 7, 8 years ago, your starting point would be, okay, let me find someone, if I need to localize in Germany, who can rewrite all of these pages in German for me. Your issue there was that it was slow. They didn't exactly know all of your context. So you have to train them, get them up to speed. And then there's like that delivery hurdle. Second phase, kind of more facilitated by the likes of a GPT or Google Translate. You put in your page and you get a fully translated version out. They both have their flaws. The second one, where you lose some of the nuance in, if I'm talking about Bluetooth headphones in the US, maybe in China or Germany, they're called something different just for a cultural reason. So direct translation in that case is going to not give you as good outcomes as you would expect. So there's a better strategy. So we kind of think of it as like market first content localization. So you're initially starting with your existing piece of content. So maybe it's a product page for, like I went through there, Bluetooth headphones and they have like extra features. We're going to bring it to Germany as our example. So again, within the German market, there could be cultural differences or market differences. And why that's important is because if you just do a direct translation, you could lose out on a lot of the search traffic that does exist. And us in growth, we don't want to lose out on that search traffic. So you want to do your research as to for what you're trying to localize, what's important to that local market. That'll give you the keyword discovery. Then you can start to estimate the forecast or the opportunity that exists. And then we come around to like content adaptation. So rather than again directly translating, just like Chang's workflow showed or mine showed, you want to start grounded in that data of what keywords matter, what matters to your brand, what's the unique insight that you can add, and then adapt that messaging directly for that local language. So we're going to avoid doing like English to German translation. We're going to develop it directly in the language to maintain that sentiment. And then once we start to publish it, we're going to think about optimization for like expectations and for our brand context, and then measure, measure, measure. Like we push something out, we start to see, oh, this keyword over another for our brand ranks a lot better, due to maybe domain authority or just local interest. So it all comes back to tracking performance and using that as insights to complete the next iteration. So we'll have a template on this pretty soon that will help you go from existing content into content localized for other regions with this process behind it. But yeah, something to think about as you want to adapt your content potentially to other languages. Cool. With 5 minutes left, I'm going to blaze through this slide so we have time for questions. But as Chang went through kind of like the development of the growth ecosystem, like AI is there to amplify human execution rather than replace. Like there's all, when we do OKR or quarterly planning, there's a million tasks we all have on the marketing side. We just don't get time to do all of them. But you can start to slowly and surely layer in automation on the tasks that are receptive to it. Like which ones are better performed by AI. They're more detailed. They're taking time like off of your plate and giving you back time to focus on higher leverage opportunities. But with all of that, you don't want to lose the human insight. So be it for programmatic or editorial content or repurposing, you have to keep that expert in the loop because the judgment ensures that it's going to be receptive to a reader or an algorithm. So I think there are two key principles. Use the tooling, but make sure that your tooling also allows you to enrich it with that human insight. So with that, I think we'll have a couple minutes for questions and then we will wrap it up.
I have one question in the Q&A.
Yeah, go for it.
It's asking about, can we share the slides and the recording for?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, if it doesn't go out for end of day today, we'll get it out first thing in the morning. And while we're waiting for some other questions to come in, I see one there. Thank you. If folks have questions, feel free to drop it. But if you like what you've seen and you'd like to maybe go deeper with your team, with AirOps or with Chang, we have exclusive opportunities for you. So on the AirOps side, yeah, follow up with an email to team@airops.com afterwards. It'll be first come, first served. We're just going to do 10 within the next couple of weeks with folks who have signed up for this webinar. So you're first come, first served. And yeah, we'll bring you through a little bit more from my side on like education of like how to stitch these tools together. And then we'll do more forecasting on the upside of what bets you might want to take. What can you see as like ROI from like investing in those opportunities? Before I answer that other question, Chang, do you want to run through a little bit more about how people can stay in contact with you?
Feel free to scan the QR code to connect me with on LinkedIn, or email me anytime at c@hockeystick.io. We do have another question about how do you keep up with changes in AI models and the prompt engineering in your workflow? Really good question.
Do you want to have a first go?
Yeah, I've been always testing different new algorithms, and I think we briefly touched it at the beginning of this conversation as well. I've been testing Cloudy, Opus, and it actually started to see improvement comparing to the other models that that I previously used. The new model is better for longer form copy creating, but there's some other models like the like the OpenAI O 04, that model is more that model is better for logic thinking and to create structured data output like JSON. I think AirOps has been integrating with the new models pretty fast. So my approach is to keep trying and to actually see the results yourself.
Yeah, I'd echo that, and it's a really good question. I've just pulled open here our like LLM library. So, generally, just to give you best practices on what we found through iteration, and I think Chang agreed with this. If you have copy tasks, I think Claude Opus has really been like a standout for us. And a way to test would just be to like set up the same prompt for multiple different models and see like which one you as a human like the best. So from a lot of tests we've run and same with customers, Opus has been really good for copy generation, be it emails or like marketing content. I really like what Shank said there. So, like GPT-4o, we find really good for data analysis. So, if you need something like structured data, or you want something that is in a very standardized format and needs a little bit less expression, I think GPT-4o is really, really good. And then where you want like something like a teammate or a companion to be very thoughtful and strategic and actually like think logically about the development of a project or something that they need to reason, O1 is definitely the go-to for that. And the last one I'll add in with us just hitting time is perplexity. So probably not as good on the side of being trained on a ton of context, but when you want an LLM mixed with like that online search and you want it done in just one step, I found Perplexity to be very good for that. With one tip being almost the less context you give it, the better it's going to be with its response. So if you wanted to find personas at a company, be very specific and short and like concise with what details you give it. The longer your input, the more it kind of goes away from where you want it to be. So those are some kind of like key tips we've learned primarily through experimentation, but definitely say when new models come out, check the AirOps website, check Twitter, check LinkedIn. People do tests in bulk, and generally they'll share their insights with their audience. Oh wow, we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, new
What's
questions.
the Can we have more purpose-built workflow templates to jumpstart the learning curve on the tool? Absolutely, Vinay. If you haven't seen it already, um, we have a templates gallery. If I can find it here, templates, you'll find, I think like 8 or 9 here at the moment that are across content creation, optimization, strategy, and then like technical SEO. And there are a few more in our platform. When you go into here and you select new, start with a template, you'll find more examples here that we just haven't got on the website just yet, like image alt tags, and yeah, hero image for an article. There's more coming. If you have suggestions, definitely follow up with me afterwards or drop anything in our Slack community, and we're more than happy to share out a few more.
And if you
Uh,
like the workflow that we demoed today, we should be able to export for you so you can
yeah,
import and using.
love it. Okay, I need to mark some of these as done. So Vinay, John, what kind of successes have you seen with agencies monetizing these workflows? Really good. So really good question. One I'll bring up is GrowthX Labs. So Marcel, who maybe a lot of you follow or you've seen on our like other webinars, I'll tell his story very quickly, but he started off as CMO of Deepgram, so massive like Series C, D company, and had amazing outcomes himself with like AirOps the tool and Stitch to other ones. I'll see if I can get his exact outcomes like results here. So he had like 24x growth in a couple of months, setting up some programmatic hubs and streamlining his team around precise editorial content creation. But yeah, he's basically gone off and started GrowthX Labs, which is an agency basically fully built on top of AirOps and helping other businesses where they need managed services scale up those AI workflows. So when it comes to agencies monetizing these workflows that they create, whether you're kind of Marcel starting net new and you're getting into new business and helping them create and manage their workflows and scale up their internal processes, that's one way to look at it. For existing agencies, we see the likes of Contact Studios, and we're more in the realm of SEO expertise. They have been doing that for years. Rob and his other co-founder, Mike, they're just like experts. So they started off with, and I'll show the customer story, or Air Candy Comic Studios. They have for each of the services they provide on SEO, like their own proprietary logic. So if a new customer comes, they need to run it, what is pretty a manual process from the ground up for each of them. So they've codified each of their core IPs into workflows. And then when it comes to like setting up a customer with a proposal or starting to scale their like initial opportunities and forecast ROI, they have workflows to run with humans in the loop that get them from 0 to 1 much quicker. So yeah, whether you're like an agency more like Marcel, where you're building custom solutions for customers, they've been really successful on the platform. Similarly, with other more established agencies that want to codify their logic and start to multiply the number of customers they can take on, that's like a Contact Studios. Both have had like really good success. So yeah, happy to connect afterwards, John, if you have more questions. And then
Well, one
Susan,
question for Susan. Yeah.
how is your content, either the uploaded input content or AI generated content, staying private? Is it feeding the public LLMs? Does it teach your own instance of these LLMs? Really good question. So, when uploaded to AirOps, we'll look at my example here. I am sharing it with AirOps, and like we're SOC 2 compliant. And for other, we'll say regulatory questions, definitely follow up afterwards and I can help ask those. But for anything you're uploading to AirOps that's protected, and then where you query LLMs, we would say where you want to really maintain your privacy, bringing your own API key to AirOps can help basically keep the public side out of the loop. So that would be one other element to consider. I think in my case here, I'm using like our internal structure. So I have an API key that essentially bypasses it going through AirOps's key. How do I explain that? Basically, if you have usage for GPT internally or Claude, you can generate your own API key, and that just helps you monitor, maintain control and access over your data. And then when it comes to content, similarly, you'll want to maintain that within like our instance and then export it back to your own so that you're fully in control of it. So if you have like more of an enterprise or like self-serve use case that you want assistance with, like architecturally, like how to set that up, yeah, definitely get in touch with us afterwards. And then does it teach your own instance of these LLMs? Absolutely, it can. So you can train a model on top of AirOps, but generally what we found is that can be overkill. And enough of the time, if you feed it the context, like you'll have seen in, if I can go back to my examples here, if I feed it the context in these variables, it's enough to get the job done. But again, very use case dependent. If there's a particular reason where you want a model customized and tailored to a use case, there are examples of that. Yeah, definitely that can be a good move, but usually this is like perfect enough. All right. That was a lot of questions towards the end. If there is nothing else, I'll stop my share. And
Good questions.
yeah, very good questions. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And Chang, want to thank you on behalf of AirOps and all of the attendees for being so thorough in everything you went through, from best practices to showing some of the workflows. And yeah, excited to see a lot of the journey you go on and the workflows that you'll share in the future. So thanks so
Yes.
much for your time. And then for anyone that wants to follow up afterwards, team@airops.com. The slides should go out later today or first thing tomorrow. But yeah, don't be a stranger. Where you have questions, let us both know. We're more than happy to assist. But have a great rest of your Wednesday. And Chang, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for the time.
See ya.
Yes.